Hello, my name is Seth Rainey, and today I'm going to talk to you about blockades. Now, a blockade is a naval action used by one country against another country to stop the movement of supplies, goods, military stores, and anything else that might be of value to your enemy. There are three separate kinds of blockade. The first kind of blockade is a close blockade or a shore blockade. What you do is you take your ships, you only need a few of them for this, in as close to land as you could possibly get without exposing yourself to unnecessary risk, and you grab all ships that come in and out of your blockade. This prevents the enemy from moving in supplies, munitions, food, medical supplies, or anything else that might be of value, while giving you the added benefit of capturing these. You are not able to resupply your own ships as easily because they needed to maintain blockade on that specific port. A good example of this would be the blockade of Boston in the American Revolution. The British used their ships to stop any ship from entering or leaving. The next type of blockade is a loose blockade. A loose blockade is further out to sea but still within sight of your blockaded target. The enemy has a higher chance of slipping through with smaller ships, sometimes called blockade runners. They're usually a very fast, agile ship made specifically for sailing out through the blockade. Now, with a loose blockade, you're going to need a few more ships than you would the close blockade, but you have a relatively safe venture here because you're not put at risk of enemy fire. While doing this, you have to maintain any ship coming in or out has to be captured or turned around. For example, when the French coast was blockaded for the first time during the 7 Years' War successfully, the British turned away Dutch merchants. Now, instead of capturing them, they just said, you can't trade with France, this is our intended target. The French were not able to ship out any goods from the city. Any goods coming into the city were denied. Eventually, it turned into riots. This use of a non-violent blockade sparked protests, riots, and other things, which eventually led to the city of Toulon falling to the British hands, also starving the French crown of much needed money to pursue the war. Now, the next kind of blockade that we find is the faraway blockade, sometimes called the horizon blockade. What you do is you pull your ships as far back as you can outside of the view of the enemy into the horizon. What you're trying to do there is you're trying to bait the enemy, sail out from your port. We want to catch you, so you need a lot of ships for this. The nice thing is, though, it's much easier for them to resupply and work in a rotation effect while maintaining their patrols. The ships sail out from the blockaded target, and you would nab them as best you can. The enemy doesn't know quite what happened. You don't return the ships or anything, so they keep trying to send out more and more blockade runners. A good example of this would be the Anaconda blockade, or the Anaconda plan used during the American Civil War. The North used to strangle the South. By doing this, they denied the South medical supplies, munitions, foreign aid, and the South desperately depended on shipping cotton to England. Without cotton, the Southern economy crumbled and the Southern dollar failed. They eventually went bankrupt. Another good part of blockading is the modern use of air power. There are a couple different ways to use air power with a modern blockade. We started seeing this in World War II, not so much in World War I because aircraft technology just hadn't come up to par yet. Aircraft in a blockade can be used to do different things. First of all, it can help seal off land trade as well. And while a blockade could be called a blockade on land, it's not normally. But by sealing off land trade routes with planes, by destroying infrastructure, roads, bridges, convoys, anything else that's coming through, you even more effectively seal off that city or region. Another thing you can do, a nonviolent thing, is dropping pamphlets and other propaganda, which we did to the Germans during World War II. The Americans dropping leaflets and pamphlets to the Germans saying, give up the fight, it's not worth it. This helped speed the end of the war, which was a very good thing considering that 9 out of 10 pilots did not make it home after their first few missions. So working in conjunction with ships and planes, we can form an even more effective blockade. Now, the next part of my topic I'd like to talk about would be blockade runners and how they just kind of weasel right through the blockades.